All right, welcome to the new segment, Better on Draft, from the Michigan series, episode number 1 that we had with Eric Brigham of Rochester Hills. Thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget to check out our sponsors, Zaytuna Liquor over in Rochester Hills and North Center Brewing over in Northville, Michigan. Of course, you can find us Friday nights, 7 p.m. Eastern. Guys, we're going to be live next week. We're going to be recording episodes 2, 3, 4, and 5 next week.
Oh,
So it's going to be a little bit longer, no news next week, and then we will be off. So you can either check out the live episode, 7 p.m. Eastern, on the 18th, or we will be there we go. We will be pushing them out every couple days, every 4 or 5 days throughout the week until the holidays, and then of course we have Dry January, or as Wendy likes to call it, Damp January. We're hoping to grab some non-alcoholic guests to chat with, and then of course we will be right back at it in February, um, drinking beer and doing some more interviews. So I appreciate everyone who listens live. Again, betterondraft.tv. You can listen to us live. With that in mind, I don't have the music queued up, but here is Robert with the beer news.
all right. Starting off with ran into this one today about cities and their I guess levels in terms of how well that they put out beer and best cities to drink beer in 2020. So it's like obviously not that we've really had time to drink outside of being in our homes, but a site called Smart Asset came up with a list of comparing 384 different cities across these metrics. That it would be the total number of breweries per 100,000 residents, the average number of beers per brewery, bars per 100,000 residents, and the average price of a pint. Now, of the, I believe it was a top 50 in the list, there were two cities in Michigan that made the list, being Grand Rapids, number 18, and Ann Arbor at number 49. Though kudos to Ann Arbor for being tied for first with the lowest average price per pint at $3.25, which I was very surprised by that.
Can I
Um,
just say that's a big deal because I've noticed that beer in Michigan is a lot more expensive than in other places I've been.
Yeah, and I'm a little surprised by that, but maybe that includes 734 Brewery, which makes some pretty decent beer at some relatively low prices. So I don't know, maybe they shunned a curve or something like that. But the top 10 cities that they have on the list, as far as best cities to drink beer, going from 10 to 1. 10 is Cleveland, Ohio. 9, Missoula, Montana. Madison, Wisconsin at 8. Bend, Oregon at 7. Denver, Colorado at 6. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania in 5th. Fourth, Portland, Oregon, which I believe was the one city that was on there that had the most breweries. Third, St. Louis, Missouri. Second was Asheville, North Carolina. And first, which actually kind of goes to one of our former guests that we just had not less than a month ago, Cincinnati, Ohio, which of course is the home of Rheingeist. So that was pretty much the list. I guess I'm just kind of curious, just kind of going around the Zoom room here as to where they feel like as far as the cities that are on the list, and should or do you feel like there are cities here in Michigan that should have been higher? Maybe that Grand Rapids should have been higher, or Ann Arbor should have been higher. I saw Matt just kind of shaking his head there in some utter disbelief. So I'll start with Matt.
Well, I mean, I have to shout out my hometown of St. Clair Shores now. We have 4 breweries in 2 miles, and there's 18,000 people here. So in theory, we have uh, 20 breweries per 100,000. So I'm guessing there's probably also a floor of how many the population centers, because I just feel like Bend, Oregon, and the STL are too obvious because of Deschutes and Bush and Asheville too. I just feel like there are better places where there aren't such known places. And I
But
guess
you make it sound like St. Clair Shores, for a list that is supposed to be national, that people are gonna care about a
No,
suburban area of Metro Detroit.
you said breweries per 100,000 was the criteria. So I think I have the highest breweries per 100,000 in the state right here, more than Ann Arbor.
You don't even have 100,000.
Huh? No, but per 100,000, I have more because I multiplied all by 5. Also, I just feel like you could do better than St. Louis. I just think St. Louis, I mean, it just feels like that's like the Bud Light, Busch Light, Michelob capital of the world. Not that there's anything wrong with Busch Light, Michelob. I just
So
feel like
Matt, hold on, real
Austin?
quick. Hold on,
sorry.
real quick.
Again,
Matt, there are currently 6 breweries in the city of Marquette who has a population of only 20,000, therefore would have a higher brewery population density than St. Clair Shores.
All right, let's besides Black Rocks and what's the other one?
Well, you've got Barrel and Beam,
Which
Drifta,
is, but that's a brew pub, not a
Superior
brewery.
Culture, Black
Ordoc.
Rocks, Veerling, Ordoc.
There's 2.
Amazing.
There's 2. The other
Sorry, another one, Lake Superior Smokehouse. There's 7 breweries in Marquette.
But those aren't just strictly breweries. Those are brew pubs and other. I think we're talking strictly breweries. Barrel and Beam is not, and the Veerling is not a strict brewery. Based on licensing, we just had this conversation with Eric Briggerman about brew pubs versus breweries.
I don't think these random ass websites are paying attention to the licenses, especially because licenses are different state to state.
right. And one of the other things that that I mentioned,
Okay, I'll be honest.
They only compared 384 cities. In the country, we sit at basically just over 19,500 cities in the U.S. So this is a representation of roughly 2% of the entire amount of cities that are in the country. And I guess to think that something like St. Clair Shores or Marquette are going to make that 384 list. I mean, I don't know what they use to make the list of cities.
Let's be real, because
Other than population, that's really
it sounds like teams that have an NCAA basketball team in the Final Four or in the March Madness for the last 10 years. And I feel like it's that group of cities.
Matt,
Well,
I hate
for
to
the
tell
10
you,
years without Ann Arbor.
I hate to tell you though, 12 breweries for 73,000 people in Flagstaff didn't make the list. A city like St. Clair Shores isn't making the list.
There's 12 breweries in Traverse City who only have a population of 15,000.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm just trying to make a point.
Right
I'm the
now.
Chamber of Commerce for my city, man. I'm not trying to be serious. I'm not trying to like die on this hill. I'm just saying it sounds like there's a bunch of cities here that are like, hey, let's pick 5 cities that everybody knows about and pick 5 more that nobody would think of. And inside of that, let's pick up 2 that nobody would ever imagine. Like Missoula, Montana, for Christ's sake. Who would ever want to go to Missoula, Montana to drink that beer?
Never even heard
Well,
of
I
Missoula,
kind of do
Montana.
now.
But I mean, if you go through the list and you look at the top 50, there's quite a few cities in here that you're going to know of. And for those that don't know Missoula, Montana, that sucks. But I mean, you go through this list and
They got 75,000 people there.
Yeah, you get.
Are you serious?
Yeah, you get
What?
like in the list, like 11 is Green Bay. You got Fort Collins, Wilmington, Seattle, Milwaukee, Buffalo, Richmond.
No one's going to a brewery in Green Bay. They're all at Lambeau Field drinking in the parking lot.
That's
But
not
that's
true.
the thing with Green Bay. That's basically
It is true. I was there.
and beer. What else do you have?
From the
They're
You know what?
chat.
There's a damn good margarita place in Green Bay.
So guys, real quick from the chat, we had a lot of people going in. Brett Hartman is a fan of Stroh's. Chris Hakery over in Austin Brothers, who will be on our show next week, is saying that there's about to be a second brewery in Alpena. Tito Huffman is drinking a Mocha Habanero Coffee Stout by Brew Detroit. Debbie, former guest of Better on Draft from Tag Brew, says hello. I want to go over all of that because you can join us Better on Draft.tv every Friday, 7 p.m. Including the news segment, which we release on Mondays. Come join us live. Talk to the news with us. Tell us how stupid we are. Tell us how stupid Matt is for trying to bring up St. Clair Shores And then
I'm just trying to prove a point.
getting
It's not-
quote unquote dunked on by me and using the information from the Michigan Brewery Map app at michigan.brewery.map.app on Instagram, which is going to be launching on January 1st live to the public. You're going to be able to search from everything if a brewery has a patio, if they sell wine, cider, mead, if they're dog friendly, they have food, they have guest tabs, so much information and more free for you, put onto you by the brewers that are advertisers on there. We appreciate each and every one of them. Sorry, I have to go into sell mode to make sure I hit every single point. Robert, back to you.
And really quick, just
Wendy,
with Chris at
Wendy's
Austin
got
Road.
something. Wendy, go.
Oh,
Wait,
ahead.
I've been trying to say this article is aimed at people who are doing brew vacations. This is a beercation list right here. It's something for someone like me who travels as much as they can to other states and tries their beer to go places. And honestly, I'm not going to St. Clair Shores with 4 breweries. Or would you say 6?
Well, there's also like right down the street is also Atwater, and you've got Terry's Terrace.
In Gross
But
Point.
I'm not going to that one particular place. I'm going to the one that has 13 or 14 different things that I don't have to pay to go to. Like, or that,
All right,
not
The
necessarily
hotbed
I
of
have to
beer
pay to
as
go
Matt,
to it.
how many breweries do you think is in Missoula, Montana?
13.
9.
Again, it's still Montana.
How do I get there though?
It's
Once I get
St.
there,
Clair
do I
Shores.
have to go? Do I have to use public transportation? There's all kinds of things that are added into that type of factor when you're planning a beercation.
I mean that would not be a bad idea for this website smartass@.com to
Smart ass at.
see what I did there. To put, because I agree. Is there, like, in Missoula, Montana? I assume there is, but I would want to know if there's Uber there or public transpo or
Exactly.
Bird or
And
Lyft
plus
or.
And plus,
there's
look
3
at the
guys
list of
with
what
a
they
stagecoach and 6 horses that runs everybody around town. And in the wintertime, they attach sleds for cheaper fares.
So I'm guessing you've never been to Montana.
You are correct.
And I guess before I was going to go into the next piece, I was going to definitely say to Chris at Austin Brothers that with adding another brewery in Alpena, then that means that for Austin Brothers that they need to take advantage of the fact of that Alpena was the site of the filming of Die Hard 2, and they need to come up with a tour so that they can definitely leverage themselves as being the better brewery in Alpena.
With a new beer at
But
each stop.
But before you go,
Yeah,
just to
exactly.
upset Matt even more, ranked 34th is Billings, Montana. There's 2 Montana cities in this list.
two Montanas in there.
If there's nothing to do but beer, there's got to be a reason to go drink it.
Exactly. But I ran into another one today about some tax increases that are going to be running in or running over maybe some of breweries that are coming into January. But some chief executive officers from 8 major beverage alcohol associations sent a letter to congressional leaders back on the 9th, a couple days ago, urging immediate passage of the bipartisan Craft Beverage Modernization and Tax Reform Act, which I believe we talked about this before in a couple episodes. But its purpose, hopefully, is to help craft distillers, brewers, cider producers, and mead makers from suffering a devastating tax hike, which is coming in January. And there's quite a few with the 8 major beverage alcohol associations. These are coming from the states of New York, Iowa, Maryland, Missouri, California, Oregon, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. And what obviously they're seeing is that if this tax hike were to hit in January, that it is going to impact their livelihoods of their employees, and of course the livelihoods of farmers, distributors, truck drivers, warehouse workers, in trying to make sure that they get their product out and not have to suffer from having to pay more taxes and putting these products out. There was one note in particular that came from someone in Michigan who was part of the American Cider Association, who said that the risk and uncertainty is understandable and necessary, but what they currently face through this artificial uncertainty created by the lack of resolution regarding this act not being passed is kind of different, and they need some sort of resolution in getting this done. But of course, to them, not getting this done is going to cause some harm in trying to make sure that they are able to make money, keep their employees paid and fed. And in a time where we're still dealing with a pandemic, it's obviously going to get into a situation where it's going to be very difficult if they have to pay more taxes. So I guess a question to you guys is, you know, where do we go from here? What can we do, or what can they do really to really try to push us forward, other than putting this letter out here and hope that these leaders can actually make a difference in keeping everything going?
Here's what I have to say, um, because I as someone who is not like a whole anti-tax person, I am a person that wants to know the why and where. Why are you being taxed, and where is the money going? Like those are the two things I want to know before you add a tax to someone. Whether it is alcohol, tobacco, whatever other sin tax, quote unquote. I want to know the why and the where. Before even I jump on it. So as someone that's like, if you come in here and you're telling me that it's just raising taxes to raise money for the state, no, I'm not for that. I'm not for an additional sin tax. If you're here to tell me, hey, we have a terrible alcohol problem here in the state of Michigan, alcoholic problem, and the money is going to go towards AA, NA, and these other organizations, okay, maybe I might be more akin to it. But for right now, like I think that within the industry itself, we need to worry about tax increases, especially anything that touches restaurants. We need to worry about tax increases. We need to worry about any type of business increases for them, because we are going to see a slew of restaurants close next year. And what sucks is that within the industry itself, yes, we're going to see these restaurants close, but we're going to see a lot of people buying these cookie cutter ready to go restaurants because the restaurants exist. People still have money. Um, and you're just going to have a turnover of restaurants. So just because I'll use it just, as much as I love the place, the Gathering Place in, Troy, Michigan closes. But some, person purchases it and reopens up the Gathering Place. That place still closed. Somebody lost that business. Whether somebody bought it or not, somebody lost that business. So that's just my opinion about the taxes, is that I just want to know the who and the why before you
Fair.
start charging taxes. I'd love to hear Dan, because I know Dan has a lot of like him and I. Whenever I have a specific opinion on a lot of things, him and I butt heads a lot. But I always love to hear what his thoughts and theories are.
You actually kind of shocked me with that. I'm not even gonna lie about what you're saying. I was expecting like tax the hell out of everyone, but I actually go a little bit further. Why the hell are we taxing anyone right now? There shouldn't be any taxes being raised, let alone people really shouldn't be charged. There should be some sort of tax holiday for business and individual. I don't know why we're trying to raise taxes on everyone, especially in the middle of this whole pandemic. It just is going to put more people out of business than not, as far as that goes.
Well, Dan and I agree on something, but I know Matt was shaking his head when I was saying things. So, Matt, what's up?
So I believe in like multiple things here. I think this. Do you want me? I'll give you the solution and the answer. But we have a K-shaped recovery. I believe. Does everybody believe in that K-shaped?
I agree with you.
So I feel like the mom and pops, the small businesses are going on the lower part of the K, but the higher part of the K has more equity to invest in the next generation of those who want to start places. I think the breweries that just started in the last couple of 3 years that are going out of business, somebody's got money that they now have they went out of business. Now there's a vacant spot. There's now a vacant business, and there's more money in some venture capitalist pocket, and he wants it to put it somewhere. There's a brewer who now doesn't have a job, so they're going to meet. It's going to be put together. While I believe in this K-shaped economy, I feel like it's all going to work itself out in the next 2 to 3 years, and I'm not overly concerned about it. And I think, in fact, commercial real estate, from my experience, has been way overinflated. And if anything, it'll bring it back down to normal to where a business can both make money, give money into the community, and take money at a fair rate. We talked about how much a pint of beer is. Over here, it's the average pint of beer is $6. It's kind of ridiculous, I think, but it's because of retail space and all that stuff. But if rent was lower and all these other charges were lower, it would be more apt to take money from the community. So I feel like, in general, I'm not afraid of the recovery. I'm not afraid of the current economy because I feel like the businesses that go out of business will come back into business as a different shell of themselves. That's my 2 cents. The solution, the absolute solution, is a 1% internet sales tax. Anytime you buy something on the internet in America, your IP address is in America, you pay 1%. Amazon, Etsy, Facebook, whatever, 1% sales tax goes to the Fed, pays down the debt, it does whatever it does. It goes towards programming, what have you. A 1% sales tax on top of the 6% Michigan sales tax. It's so minuscule, no one would get it. The amount of money that goes in Amazon would easily do so much for the lower thing. Like, even if it was just for the next 3 years, a sunset clause in 2025 to repay all of the businesses that live now or in the future, having a 1%, having a 1 cent sales tax in perpetuity or in the next whatever, just on Amazon alone would, I don't know, fund a small army of Salvations or Salvation Army or whatever. Business entrepreneurs. So that's A, my economic idea, and B, my.
All right. I want to get more like one more article before we head out. Matt, I think there's a lot more that can be expanded on that. Not enough in a beer podcast. But Robert, what else is going on in the craft beer news?
All right, kind of go into a little bit of a feel-good story and just kind of pass this on around to you guys to ask kind of ask you or answer rather a two-part question on this. But there was a story that came out of Massachusetts about a 21-year-old, recently 21-year-old named Matt Goodman, who was surprised on his 21st birthday with a beer from his dad. Now, with the story that his dad had actually passed away from cancer about 6 years ago. But before that, the father, John, had given a $10 beer to his daughter, Casey, and said to save that for Matt's 21st birthday so that he could buy his son his first legal drink. So obviously, Matt had turned 21. Casey gave the money to her mom, who then, kept it for safekeeping and then gave it to Matt. So that he could enjoy his first beer. And, just the whole kind of story of, having his father gone and being able to enjoy his first beer from his dad is like really cool. But I guess I'm curious for all of you guys here, guys and gals, that two parts. One, with that $10, what would you want your first beer have been? And two, what do you think your dad's expectations of your first beer should have been? I will start with Nick.
Start with me first. Oh,
Yes.
man. First, if I was given a $10 bill, what would my first beer be?
What would you want your first beer to be, and what do you think your dad would want your first beer to be?
Well, is knowing what I know now, or
Yes.
or when I turn 21?
Knowing what you know now.
Yeah.
So if I turn 21 now, basically.
Yep.
Oh, man.
Don't say Final Absolution.
No. Oh, hell no. No.
I was thinking he'd want you to have a Stroh's.
My dad?
Yeah. Or he'd probably want you to have a mixed drink.
Yeah, probably. I mean, he really wasn't a beer drinker. He was a Bloody Mary
I
drinker.
was gonna say it doesn't have to. I mean, this is his first legal drink, so it doesn't have to be a beer.
Yeah, I'm gonna side. I mean, my Ken knew my dad, so and I would say I would agree with Ken. It would be a beer. It'd be a Bloody Mary. And I don't know if I would have liked it at that time because it took me a little while to kind of warm up to them. And now it's like anytime I go to a brunch place, I'm like, all right, Bloody Mary, please. So yeah, I think it probably would have been that. I don't. He like I said, he wasn't much of a beer drinker. I could see the Strohs though,
Mhm.
since he kind of grew up with Strohs as the beer in southeastern Michigan at the time. But yeah, I'm gonna say a Bloody Mary using cheap ass Nikolai vodka. That's what I'm gonna say.
Matt, this seems like an easy one for you.
So in the 30 years that I've known my father, I guess 30, yeah, like, well, let's spare the details. I've never seen anything more expensive than Bush Light in his fridge. So it'd easily be a Bush Light or a Natty Light. That's it. Um, that's it. But you know what he would tell me is, I gave you $10, son, so buy three of them because they only cost $3. So, or buy a bucket. So, and you know what? To be fair, I remember I remember the day I turned 21. I was at Central. I was living in a shitty apartment, and I turned 21. And I woke up. I went to the CVS and I bought Mr. Boston's uh, almond liqueur, or as you would know it, branded Di Serona, and that cost me about $10. I took a shot of that, fell asleep because I was asleep the whole time, anyways, and then woke up and said, "Wow, this is terrible." The next day.
All right, Dan.
So my dad's similar to Matt's. If he was going to suggest a beer, it would have been Bush, not Bush Light, but Bush for sure, or the Bloody Mary. But instead of Nikolai like Nick's, it would have been Pop Off out of the plastic
Oh
bottle. Yeah,
jeez.
would have been the old.
Wait, I don't know. Is that really a step up or is that like a step
Yeah,
down?
it's definitely not. It's the plastic bottle vodka is plastic bottle vodka. It doesn't matter what you're doing.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, it would have been Bush or a Bloody Mary for sure. And I still don't like Bush, so Bloody Mary I probably wouldn't have liked at the time either.
Come on, Bush is the greatest. It's the greatest non. It's like the flavor of beer for America.
No.
It's the best.
No.
It's the best selling beer for anybody under like 21 in the world.
No. Well,
No, no.
maybe, but I disagree with the first part. I'm gonna stick to this really quickly. PBR. That's what I think it is.
PBR is
PBR tastes like a tin can.
PBR tastes like a beer flavored beer.
Flavored
Wendy,
beer.
got
Get your
anything?
99 pack.
So my dad was not a beer drinker when I was growing up. But when he found out that I liked craft beer, he was actually the person I shared my very first flight with.
Oh.
We had met on we were both on separate vacations and we were on our way home at a similar time and met at Lumber Barons in Bay City. And we shared a flight of beer and we each got to pick different ones to try. So I will never forget that because that was kind of eye turning because I he was so excited that somebody else in the family actually liked beer because he didn't like the Bud Light and stuff like that when we were growing up, but he did like craft beer and they would go to places like that when he was traveling. So it's really hard for me to pick a beer that he would want me to have. I would say Oberon because it's one of his favorites. I have to keep it stocked at my house during Oberon season so that he can have a beer when he gets done with work. Um, a craft beer that I would want somebody to have though, um, I would probably pick a stout because that's my favorite style. I would pick a stout or a Belgian. I would actually have to say Final Absolution because it's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
But honestly, I think it's really hard to pick a favorite beer of all times. I love Mad Elf, but it's a seasonal beer, so
Right.
That's a really tough decision, man.
Yeah,
Like, you
it's
want to pass on.
The
it's
aquavit.
tough, and to pick one, I get it, and really with my dad doesn't drink at all, so there with him, there's nothing that he would even have me pick. It basically would just be just pick whatever the hell you want, and
Rob, can I flip this on you though? Can I flip this on you?
okay,
Let's imagine that this is 7, 10, 15 years on the road, and one
okay,
of your beautiful daughters takes you out to a restaurant, a brewery, an establishment of some sort,
mm-hmm.
and she orders a beer. What is that one beer that she could order when she takes you out that you would be either impressed, thankful for, you would feel like you had taught her something, or you would feel like she's a full-on Everett because she ordered that beer?
uh are you trying to make me cry? What the hell?
See what I did?
uh,
See, I'll make you think. I'll put this on you.
Honestly, I would be impressed if it were a brown. I would be impressed if it were a brown. If it were an ESB, I would be like, I don't care who the hell you're marrying. He's fine, whatever. uh, I would probably say a brown. I would probably say a brown. I'm gonna pass that to Ken because yeah.
So my dad, very very basic, bitch for that matter. If you had to ask me who his favorite band is, or favorite music or genre, like I know more about Nick's dad regarding music. My dad loves jazz and Golden Earrings, Radar Love.
And
Not
or
like
Elton
golden.
John. And Elton John. Elton John.
I don't know his opinion on Elton John. So my
He's gonna like
father,
Billy Joel better.
for decades was a Doers and Water guy. Not
Oh.
Doers and Water, like just Scotch and water. That's so if when I had my 21st, so my first legal drink, um what with him, he took me to the Gathering Place. Let's bring it back a little bit.
Wow, 2 times in one night.
It's the
I
best bar. It's the best bar in America.
I had a
That's a new bingo square, by the way.
I had a Killian's. He had been sober for almost a year. He did not drink that night. If it was a beer, though, I easily would guess that it would be a Bud Light, if I'm drinking a Ken Konashevsky Senior beer. Um, so that is mine. So it would have been a Scotch and water if we're going, any type of alcoholic drink, or it would have been a, um, Bud Light probably if it was just a regular, or a Budweiser probably a nice red can Budweiser. So uh, that's gonna do it. Better on draft. This is the Michigan Series episode 1. This was the news segment, December 11th, 2020. You can check us live, betterondraft.tv, every single Friday, 7 p.m. We will be off on Christmas and New Year's Day. You could find us on betterondraft.com. Go check out our brand new website, betterondraft.com. We just relaunched it. Better on Draft on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Bod Podcast on Untapped to find out all the stuff that I'm drinking. I am going to be drinking the Arche Brewing's Candy Cane Milk Stout, as we go into the King of the Hill game. Again, you could join us live, join us in the chat, and that's going to do
On
it.
purpose? On purpose?
On purpose, yes. I'm for Guinness Tall Boys in. I'm ready for the Arche. No matter what you think of your beer, we think it's better on draft. Have a good night.
Peace.